30 armed men stormed a military base, aiming to obtain secret military data. Instead, they entered a fortress guarded by America's most elite four-legged warriors. Moonlight reflects on the barbed wire fence surrounding Shadow Peak Military Base, a facility so secret that even some officials only vaguely knew of its existence. Beneath the watchtowers, automated turrets stood silent but ready, scanning the darkness for any sign of infiltration. The night sky was cloudless, vast, and unrelenting, a perfect cover for what was about to unfold. Inside the compound, tension coursed through every corridor. Rumors had spread that a group of high-tech mercenaries planned to breach the base's formidable defenses tonight. Their goal is to steal important military data stored in the base's central archive. Normally, such rumors would be brushed aside as impossible. Shadow Peak had remained unbreached for years, but over the past 12 hours, unexplained signals and acts of sabotage have put the base on alert. In a military armory, soldiers in tactical gear check their weapons one last time. Alongside them, a specialized unit of tactical dogs waited, each canine partner poised and alert. It was an unusual sight for those not familiar with Shadow Peak's protocols. Dogs outfitted with high-tech harnesses, miniature cameras, and protective gear. But here, it was standard. Whenever infiltration threatened the base, these four-legged warriors played a pivotal role. The unit's members were legends in the K9 field, each dog forging an unbreakable bond with its handler over countless missions. Standing at the forefront was Alpha 2, a seasoned Belgian Malinois with a short, tan coat and ears perpetually at attention. Scarred from previous tours overseas, Alpha 2 is renowned for its ability to detect danger and its unwavering loyalty. Next to him is Viper, a yellow German shepherd. Viper was known for her uncanny silence in the field. She could move through thick brush or a concrete bunker without making a sound. Many joked that she truly lived up to her name. Further down the line, the pair known as Thunder and Shadow paced anxiously. These skilled hunting dogs, both Dutch shepherds, were famed for their relentless tracking abilities. Where one went, the other followed, an unbreakable duo capable of ranging far beyond typical K9 operations. Thunder was a mottled brindle with a confident swagger. Shadow, darker in coat and more lithe, was the quieter of the two. Lastly, separated slightly from the rest, there was Frost, a German shepherd with an injured hind leg. Yet, if anyone questioned his capabilities, Frost wasted no time proving them wrong. His drive to protect had never diminished, only sharpened. Despite the tension, their handlers exchanged nods of encouragement. Every soldier here trusted the dogs as much as they trusted their rifles, perhaps even more. It all started early that morning before the sun rose. Commander Andrea Collins leaves the command office, followed by her sheepdog Alpha. Upon receiving the information, the base's sensor chips detected minor disturbances near the perimeter fence. It was her habit to inspect such issues personally, regardless of the hour. The first light of dawn dyed the rocky peaks beyond the fence a pale yellow. The desert air was brisk, cooler than usual for this region, and carried a charged stillness that Andrea found unsettling. With each step, she surveyed the tall chain-link fence topped by razor wire. Nothing seemed visibly out of place, yet her gut told her something was off. Within minutes, another patrol unit reported the unusual sign to her. They had found tire tracks in the soft earth outside the fence, tracks that matched no known vehicles registered to Shadow Peak. The pattern of the treads suggested specialized off-road tires, the kind favored by mercenaries or private military outfits. Even more alarming were the micro-eavesdropping devices discovered nestled in the gravel near one of the watchtowers. Tiny as a fingernail, each was designed to intercept and transmit audio signals. A quick test confirmed they were actively recording base communications. Someone was not only close, They had been quietly collecting intel for days. Andrea's heart pounded. She ordered the devices to be found and removed, and quickly transported to the tech lab for further analysis. Investigations did not stop there. Over the next half hour, additional intrusion points were found. The fence sections are cut with microscopic cuts that are almost invisible to the naked eye, enough that even a small force can destroy them. Further sensor sweeps revealed small drones perched high on the rocky crags, scanning the base with advanced imaging technology. Worse, the tech lab reported an ongoing cyber assault against Shadow Peak's firewalls. Somebody was systematically trying to break into the base's secure data vault, likely as a precursor to a physical incursion. In response to the current situation, Commander Collins has called in K9 units to patrol the surrounding area. The training officers split into small groups, checking not only the fence, but also anything unusual within 5 kilometers. Each dog was fitted with a specialized harness that monitored heart rate, transmitted video feeds, and allowed handlers to see what the dogs detected. Alpha 2 led one search party, sniffing the air and letting out a low growl whenever he caught a whiff of something unfamiliar. Viper and her handler glided along the rocky outcroppings, searching for vantage points the enemy might exploit. Thunder and Shadow took a more aggressive approach, circling wide arcs beyond the fence, while Frost, despite his old injury, trudged through the sandy terrain, nose to the ground. Reports came in quickly: fresh footprints, signs of recent campsite activity, and scattered bits of camouflage netting. All of it pointed to an enemy that was close, likely watching from the shadows even now. As soon as the K9 teams completed the search, Andrea was alerted to a crucial piece of information: a coded signal coming from several kilometers away. When decoded, the signal revealed a mercenary force using high-tech weapons, from EMP grenades to modern UAVs. Their goal is to steal important military data from the heart of Shadow Peak, including advanced weapon schematics, and they want to steal elite K9 dogs to train them as combat weapons. With her jaw clenched, Andrea relayed the intel to the entire defense roster. If they didn't act decisively, the base's greatest secrets would soon be in enemy hands. As the intelligence was compiled, Andrea reported to her superiors about the current situation. 1 hour later, a low rumble announced the arrival of Colonel Daniel, the base's security chief, in an armored personnel carrier. Dust swirled as the vehicle halted outside the main command building. Daniel emerged wearing desert fatigues, sweat glistening on his brow. Daniel wasted no time in gathering Andrea and the top officers for a briefing. Daniel's voice was grim. The mercenaries were trained. They had modern weapons, were well trained. With tension at an all-time high, Andrea and Daniel convened an emergency meeting in the Strategic Operations Room. Technicians, intelligence officers, and senior soldiers crowded around a holographic projection of the base and its surrounding terrain. Red indicators flashed around the perimeter where infiltration signs had been found. More lights flickered where the new sensor scans detected potential enemy squads. As evening swept across the desert, the base transformed. Spotlights flicked on along the perimeter fence, carefully arranged to avoid easy destruction. Soldiers manned watchtowers, scanning the darkness with night vision scopes. The tactical dog units took up central positions in the defense matrix. Infrared sensors on the dogs' harnesses synced with watchtower cameras, giving real-time overlays of terrain. Soldiers in the command bunker watched as K9 heart rates and body temperatures displayed on monitors, ready to dispatch backup at the first sign of trouble. Each handler knew the night would be long, but their dogs remained confident, tails stiff with anticipation. They had trained for moments like this. They were ready. Just past 7 in the evening, the base's thermal imaging systems detected movement. Many cars approached from the west and south, their engines fitted with noise-reducing devices, possibly electric or hybrid tech, to minimize acoustic signatures. Tension spiked. The entire base held its breath. The dogs, however, were eerily calm, some of them leaning forward on their haunches, ears erect, eyes keen. Their internal instincts sensed the oncoming conflict. In response to the looming threat, Commander Collins activated Patent Delta. On the command bunker's screen, green lines crisscrossed the base, linking each defensive turret, sensor, and K-9 unit into a single, unified network. No more were the dogs simply patrolling at random. They now formed a mesh defense system, with each dog and handler team assigned to a zone that overlapped with adjacent ones, ensuring no gap existed. Patent Delta is live, Andrea announced over the radio. All teams, confirm your positions and lock down your grids. Throughout the base, mechanical gates sealed. Overhead drones changed flight patterns to bolster coverage. Soldiers stood behind the barricade, rifles ready. That silence erupted into chaos when the first mercenary group infiltrated through a newly cut section of fence. Spotting the intruders, a soldier raised an alarm, but the dogs reacted faster. Thunder and Shadow streaked across the sand, their handlers sprinting behind them. In coordinated movement, the dogs caught the mercenaries in an angled attack, jaws clamping onto arms and legs before the intruders could properly defend. Soldiers arrived seconds later, subduing the remaining men. The entire skirmish lasted less than a minute, but it set the tone. Shadow Peak was not an easy target. Reports flashed on the command monitors. Sector 4 infiltration neutralized. No friendly casualties. Elsewhere along the fence, more mercenaries attempted to scale or bypass sensors using advanced jamming devices. However, Viper and Thunder launched a surprise flanking maneuver. Thunder cornered the men, snapping and growling to distract them, while Viper slipped behind and took down the squad leader with a precise, agile leap. The synergy was so seamless, it seemed choreographed. Within seconds, the attackers were forced to drop their gear under the onslaught. At a single whistle command from their handlers, Viper and Thunder relented. The mercenaries had been neutralized. Not only attack on the ground. High above, enemy drones buzzed, scanning for weaknesses, possibly controlling or coordinating with other ground teams. That changed when Alpha 2 led a small squad of soldiers to a rocky outcrop just beyond the base perimeter. There, the enemy had set up a concealed drone control station. While the soldiers provided covering fire, Alpha sprang into the fray, snarling, forcing him to drop the remote interface. Another mercenary swung a rifle butt, but Alpha ducked and clamped onto the man's sleeve, pulling him off balance. The team swiftly dismantled the drone controls, effectively severing the enemy's aerial oversight. As scattered gunfire and explosions resounded across the desert night, backup arrived. A squadron of Allied UAVs soared in from a neighboring military post, thanks to prior coordination. They lobbed countermeasures that jammed the mercenaries' communications, giving Shadow Peak a much-needed advantage. Meanwhile, the base's heavier weaponry kicked in. Automated cannons on the perimeter locked onto incoming vehicles, forcing them into disorganized retreats. After initial setbacks, the mercenaries regrouped. They brought out demolition equipment, massive charges meant to punch holes through reinforced concrete. Under the cover of darkness and dust, kicked up by constant firefights, they inched closer to the base's inner perimeter. An Allied drone soared overhead, capturing footage of men planting explosives at a secondary gate. Bullets whizzed past as base defenders tried to disrupt the operation. However, one of the charges detonated, blasting apart a major portion of an outer building used for supply storage. Flames erupted, sending thick smoke billowing. Amid this chaos, the dog units did not waver. In some sectors, they dug through rubble to locate trapped personnel. In others, they escorted squads that needed to shift positions. All around, it was a tense, grueling standoff that stretched over an hour with no clear sign of resolution. Inside the base corridors, the battle became more intense. mercenaries make their way through the rubble. Shadows flickered under the strobing emergency lights. Suddenly, a police dog appeared from behind. Frost, despite his old injury, led an intercept in one of the main corridors. When a pair of mercenaries attempted to blow a hatch leading to the data center, Frost lunged with surprising agility, knocking one intruder onto his back. The second attacker raised a pistol, but was quickly disarmed by a soldier following on Frost's flank. In a parallel corridor, Thunder and Shadow weaved between small pockets of smoke, using their sense of smell to locate lurking mercenaries. The siege had lasted for hours. The base bristled with damage, and the air reeked of burned metal. Shots rang out sporadically as the final squads of mercenaries realized their plan was unraveling. They had lost their drones, their demolition squads had only partially succeeded, and many of their specialized weapons were spent. In one final push, the mercenaries converged on the last operational gate. Over a dozen of them, battered yet determined, advanced with heavy rifles. But waiting for them behind improvised barricades was a squad of soldiers and the unstoppable presence of Viper and Alpha 2. The standoff ended swiftly. A coordinated strike from overhead drones took out the enemy's vehicles, while the dogs dashed forward, forcing surrender. Panicking, the mercenaries dropped their guns. Among them is their leader, a cyber attack expert known as L-Tech. Though he attempted to detonate an EMP device in a last-ditch effort, the quick reflexes of a soldier knocked it from his hand. A moment later, Alpha pinned him to the ground with a triumphant growl, teeth inches from the man's shoulder. L-Tech had nowhere left to run. The base's medical staff rushed to treat the wounded, both canine and human, as the dust of battle finally settled. In the post-battle dawn, a hush fell over Shadow Peak. The fires had been contained. The mercenaries who survived were disarmed and detained. Data servers remained intact, untouched by the infiltration that had threatened them for so many harrowing hours. Outside the command bunker, Colonel Daniel and Commander Collins shook hands, relief evident in their exhausted faces. Around them, officers congratulated the battered but victorious defenders. A few paces away, Alpha 2 dozed at his handler's feet, muzzle resting on dusty paws. Viper lapped water from a soldier's canteen. Thunder and Shadow waited for the next set of instructions, tongues lolling. Frost, limping but proud, stood guard over the captive L-Tech, ensuring no last-second escape. In the ensuing days, word of the defense spread through classified channels. High-ranking officials visited Shadow Peak to learn about Patent Delta and its near-flawless synergy. In after-action reviews, those who'd watched the dogs move in fluid, perfectly timed maneuvers could only shake their heads in wonder. For many, the entire event solidified what they already suspected, that a well-trained dog can shift the tides of battle in ways technology alone cannot. Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you again.